Thank you for listening to the Ramble On Podcast Network. The following podcast was produced by members of the Highland Rambler from Highland High School in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Hi everyone. Today we'll be talking about 7 books that every teen should read, coming from 2 Bibliophiles. That's a fun word for you. And the first genre of book we have is fantasy books. And for that we chose the Lunar Chronicles series, which is technically kind of a sci-fi series, but it has fantasy elements in it, and it's futuristic retellings of fairy tales. So the first one is Cinderella, then it's Little Red Riding Hood, then Rapunzel, then Snow White, and they're really good. And they're good, like, coming-of-age stories, and they have lots of action in them, so, yeah.
The second book we have is Wonder, which is more of a contemporary and realistic fiction book about a kid who has a facial abnormality, but it dives deeper into the idea that in reality he is just a normal kid, but it deals with themes such as kindness and the difficulty of kindness in some cases, and then also the importance of kindness.
And that is a really good book. Third book we have is a historical fiction book, and it's called The Help, which is about living in Alabama in like the 60s in a time of a lot of racial, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Tumultuous racial relationships between people.
Yes. And it's about this girl who starts interviewing the help, which are the black members of society who work for white people. They weren't treated very well. And she starts to interview them and writes a book about them to raise awareness for the issues that there are. And it's similar to Wonder in the idea that it goes into the theme that everyone is human and we should treat each other with kindness because we're all human. So that's a really good, inspiring book to read, for sure.
And then moving on from history, we turn to mystery with The Mysterious Benedict Society, which is a story about a group of kids who are just basically immensely smart and clever and aware of their surroundings, and they go through a series of tests to end up a part of the Mysterious Benedict Society for Mr. Benedict. And they go on adventures and they do different things for him, but at the end of the day, it's just a really fun read for anyone looking for something interesting and kind of has a little bit of mystery in it.
Mm-hmm. If you're not really into these more fictional stories or adventure stories, there's this biography called Where the Wind Leads, and it's about a refugee family who leaves Vietnam during the Vietnam War and they have to come to America. And it's about that transition between these two, like, extremely different cultures and the problems that come from that, and then also the blessings that they get out of it, which is really inspiring also because it's a true story. So it can help you learn a lot about the world around you and the people in the world around you, so that's an important thing to remember.
And then another genre that we have is sci-fi, and for this one we have Ender's Game, which is a story about a kid who is extremely smart and also adept to being a leader. And his society that he lives in looks for that in its children, and they send them to schools to become leaders and to find their next great commander. And it's about his journey to finding himself and also his experiences within a society. So it's a very, very interesting and unique read.
Okay, our last book is a classic, literally. It's Pride and Prejudice. And you've probably heard about it before, and it's about this girl named Elizabeth Bennet who she wants to be an independent woman in her society, which was at the time like not very, women and men weren't very equal, and she probably wouldn't have had a lot of free reign in her life. And it's a classic like enemies to lovers trope, which a lot of people like. It's kind of one of the first one of its kind. And what I really, do you have something to say?
It revolutionized that trope and idea.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what I liked about this book was that it's kind of historical, and it helps you realize that even hundreds of years ago, life wasn't that different. There were still social issues, there were still mean girls, and like people who just funny people who are kind of hard to get along with, and it's really relatable, even though it was written so long ago, which I think is interesting.
It kind of shows you that even though it is a classic, it also is relatable, and that in reality things change, but societally, or in terms of society, do they really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so, and then we also have a couple questions, just why is reading important? Because a lot of people might say, no, that's just one more thing to do, and I read at school, why would I want to read on my own? And there's a few reasons why you should read. I think it's important for like brain development. It also just kind of is a good escape from your life, which like all you have to do is find the right book and you can escape from your own problems, which is kind of therapeutic, I think.
It can also help you emotionally too, because when you read about different situations when people are faced with different challenges, even if it is just in the context of a book, it still teaches you something.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And reading, it helps the world around us because of that. It helps us empathize with fictional characters, which can in turn help us empathize with other people around us. And yeah, that's all we have. So
Thanks for listening.